Hello everybody, it's Josie here. I'm back with another one of my two book reviews. So the two books I'm going to talk about today, they have, I suppose, a rather tenuous link, but you know, we're going to go with it. So the two books I'm talking about are these two books here. This is a YA fantasy book, and this is an adult, I would class this as an adult, kind of coming of age story. So, at first glance, not the same, but what these two books have in common for me is the theme of female friendship and feminism in a way, and that kind of that strong bond that women have, and the way that we can empower each other as women. So hence my Girls Empower Girls sweatshirt for today. So we'll start with this one over here. This is the Faulkner. The other thing that I will have to say really quickly with these two books is that if you're expecting a huge amount of queer content or queer romance, these are not the books for it. So this book, The Faulkner, I thought may have had kind of a female-female romance in it. It doesn't. There is one of the characters in this book that you could say one of the artists, I would say at the very least, is bisexual, but that is definitely not the focus of the book. And the main character, Lucy, in this book, in fact, is in love with her best friend, Percy, who is a guy. But what this book does beautifully, so the synopsis of it is that Lucy is 17 years old, and this is set in the early 90s, in 1993 in New York City, and it's very much kind of a coming-of-age story of Lucy, who is an avid basketball player. She loves basketball. She's really good at it. But as any girl of that age would have, she has insecurities about herself. She has insecurities about how she looks, how boys perceive her. You know, there's this dichotomy of her being really good at sport and then not being taken seriously enough because she's a girl. And then also this... And she wants to be taken seriously, and she wants to be, you know, really admired for her athletic prowess. But then on the other hand, she's struggling with this inner, you know, wanting to be attractive, wanting her best friend particularly to look at her as a girl that he would potentially want to date, rather than just his sort of buddy on the basketball court. And then the other aspect of it is that her friend and two of her friends are these wonderfully bohemian artists that are slightly older, living in New York City. And they are very much into second wave feminism, very much kind of into sort of that riot girlsy scene. And I love that aspect of it. I love the two artists in this book. They are amazing. I mean, I have tabbed this book up to high heaven, and there's a lot of kind of like, I've put some riot girl symbols on there. And there is so much discussion around body image, about sexuality, about you know, women being taken seriously in the arts arena. So as an artist, you know, what it means to be a woman in those fields, what it means to be a woman, you know, playing sport, and also about strong female friendships. And that's the core thing that I loved about this book, is this idea that, you know, women can empower each other and have these wonderful, strong friendships and be there for each other. So I kind of really loved everything about this book. It is a really fabulous book. I gave this kind of 4.5 stars out of 5, because I just think that this kind of, this beautiful coming of age story of Lucy, and then these two artists, and the whole setting, and all the questions and answers, and, you know, things that made me think about, and questions on femininity and friendship and female friendship. I thought it was really beautiful, so I would recommend it for that. If you're looking for queer content, no, but if you're looking for a kind of female-centric cast, and really, I mean, there's some tough, I've tabbed some places up where I've put some sort of crying face, because there were really some tough scenes in there, and just that inner dialogue and turmoil that a young woman goes through. This is a fantastic book. And then the second book I have here is Seafire. So if you can see the tagline, so this is by Natalie C. Parker, and the tagline there, it's too shiny probably, but it says, "Sisterhood is survival." And this book, is just so much fun. So it is about basically a group of female pirates, you could call them. And it's set in a fantasy world where you have a ruler who is an evil man, and he kind of keeps people in his thrall by feeding them like a drug. It's a flower, and it's a drug, and he makes his kind of army addicted to this drug, and they will go out and do anything for him and fight for him, and anybody that doesn't toe the line, you know, suffers the consequences. And the people that are fighting for him are generally male. The women are very much seen as sort of, let's breed another generation of warriors, shall we? But what this book does beautifully is it starts off with your main character who, her and her best friend, so Caledonia, I think is it? Yeah, Caledonia is the daughter of, well, basically a pirate queen, I would say, but her mother she's the captain of the ship, and she captains it together with her husband and Caledonia's brother, and Caledonia and their crew. And in the beginning of the book, the very beginning, is that Caledonia and her best friend, Pisces, I think is her best friend's name, they have to go do sort of a land run. And while they're on land, something happens, and the boat that their families and friends are on is basically blown up and captured by Arctic, who is the kind of ruler of this universe. And the story then picks up 4 years later, where Caledonia and Pisces have formed their own band of all-female crew, and they are steadily trying to kind of dismantle Arctic's, should we call it, drug empire. They're trying to kind of fight against him. And then the other aspect is, later on in this book, is that they're then looking for their families, for their brothers. It is wonderful in terms of just this incredibly strong cast of women, this incredibly strong female bond and friendship that these women have. Again, with queer content, there isn't a lot. The author actually is queer, so Natalie Parker has a wife. And there is, I would say, between Amina and Chaim, there's this, it's not explicit, but I would say they have a very strong bond. And I kind of read that as slightly more than friendship. So Caledonia, so throughout the book, she has more of an attraction to one of, I don't want to give too much away, but a man. But there isn't really romance in this book at all. So again, if you're looking for something that focuses on women, on female friendships, on adventure and piracy and kind of fantasy, but doesn't have any romance, this is a great book for it, because really, it's not a romance plot. There is a second book, so I will warn you that it ends on a cliffhanger, and you finish and you're like, I need to read the second one. I will read the second one. I want to kind of know what happens to Caledonia, and I want to know the rest of her journey, but I really enjoyed it. Again, I gave this 4 stars. It was fun. I read this in one day, and just really had a great time reading it. Fun, kind of piratey, all-female crew, fighting, sea, ships, strong women. Loved it. It's a great book. So those are my recommendations. Let me know whether you've read them or not, what you think, and if you have any other recommendations based on those, please let me know, and I will speak to you all again very soon. Bye bye.